Hi, I'm going to talk about marriage and the vow of marriage. And I think that what the vows of marriage really boil down to is both people agreeing not to be selfish, to consider the other person at all times in everything that they do. Chapter 11 is called the Betrayal. And there was a real betrayal of this in my marriage, and that's what this chapter's about. I kept it short because the point needs to be made in an abrupt way and it needs to be understood. So here we go with chapter 11, the betrayal. In many courses of events, you can't understand the present until you know the history that got you there. Shortly after my wife and I had our sixth child, it was clear to us that we were doing a great job together. Due to Stacy's parenting skills, our children were growing up beautifully. I had moved the family to a better neighborhood with best-in-the-state schools and a much larger house. We were very proud, but knew that we were not an ideal couple. I, at 32, and Stacy, at 30 years old, sat down to acknowledge the problem. With 6 children, we realized that status quo must be maintained for many years. Stacy had been in hospital, having had 6 surgeries, and even before that, she showed medical inclinations working with a veterinarian. She enjoyed medical TV shows, both real-life and fictional dramas. She said that she would eventually like to train to be a radiologist. I knew that she could easily do this, and that this was a very practical start to what would probably be only the beginning of a sky's the limit medical career for my intelligent, well-tempered wife. She was certainly no longer the child that she was when I married her, or so I thought. Our deal was Stacy would continue to be a stay-at-home mom until our baby Bryn went to school full-time in the 1st grade. When Bryn was in the 1st grade, Stacy would start the schooling to become a radiologist, which she imagined would be 2 years. Once graduated and situated in her career, we would tell our children that Daddy was moving a half a mile away where the rent was cheap, and that everything at home would be basically the same. They would keep their parents, their home, and their school. Moreover, they would have a mom with a professional career they could be proud of. She would be a great example for her sons and daughters. We would both always be there for them, and they could experience both parents with their different views on life in an environment that was free of the conflict in their home. It would be a happier circumstance for everybody. I went to work the following day proud and satisfied that we were mature enough to work out our problem with an absolute minimum of damage. I thought of my wife as a radiologist from that time on. 2 years later, while at work, I got a phone call that literally froze me. My wife, who virtually never called me at work, called to tell me she was pregnant. When I say it froze me, I went out in back of the shop and sat motionless from 4 in the afternoon to 7 in the evening without speaking, even when spoken to. My friends locked the gate to the yard with me inside and closed the shop and went home. I sat literally until after the sun went down. I had to climb over the fence to go home. After the kids went to bed, I asked Stacy, "What about our deal?" She said, "No problem, just push it back 3 years." I went to work the following day, and 7 months later was presented with Maeve, our 7th child. The mixture of emotions at a time like this is indescribable. Regardless of which feeling is dominant at the time, I was in conflict, and for me this was very difficult. I gave Stacy the benefit of a doubt and said, "Okay, our new baby daughter is a blessing, but I am scheduling a vasectomy." My wife was livid. She said, "You can't make that decision for me. I'm not done having kids." That was the end of playing innocent for me. Please pause and reflect on this for a moment. Her betrayal and the dishonesty. I told her that I was going to have the vasectomy, and she said, "Well then, I'm going to need a new man." She lied about our agreement. I had been cheated. The following day, I did what I had always done. I went to work and continued to take care of my family for 7 more years. During that time, health issues forced me to change from car repair to financial services with Prudential. My new job was close to home, and I decided to try to have lunch at home in an attempt to save money and become a little more in tune with the rhythm of my family's activities. This was a real luxury for me. I had been so far away for so long. One day in April, I came home for lunch and found my oldest daughter, Shay, watching television. She had graduated high school the summer before. I told her that she had to go to school full-time, go to work full-time, or some work and some school, but she could not live without some kind of a plan to enter adulthood. She told me, "Fuck you! Who do you think you are? Don't ever tell me what to do." I then turned to her mother and said, "Our new baby Maeve is now in the 1st grade. This is the 7th child I'm talking about now. This is 7 years later. Is now in the 1st grade. You should already be at work or in school." I'm saying this to my wife. "Not now, but in the fall when she enters the 2nd grade. You will either go to school full-time, work full-time, or a little of both per our agreement. You fudged 1 year already." You are looking at Shay. I said, "You are obviously setting a bad example. And I can't believe that you, Stacy, would allow your daughter to speak the way she just did. I remember when you would never have allowed it. I remember when you would have been outraged by it." Someone using profanity in the house that way. In all fairness, Stacy was embarrassed by Shay for a moment, but then she shook it off, saying, "Watch your language, Shay." I could see a look of betrayal on Shay's face. I knew that the words were her mother's words. I believed that Shay expected her mother to pile on and was disappointed that she didn't, and gave Shay some responsibility for doing something that she thought she was supposed to do. It was an interesting interchange of words and body language. It got worse. Stacy turned to me and said, "You know, when I was 30, I liked the plan. But now that I'm 40, I don't think I care to bother. So don't bring it up again, or you will suffer the consequences. You are trapped, and I can do anything I want with you, any way I want to do it. You're lucky you have it this good." I said, "Okay, I will begin to search for a divorce lawyer, and you should do the same." Her response was, "Ooh, bring it on, tough guy. You have no idea what you face." The following day I went to work, and between appointments, opened a phone book. That's chapter 11, the betrayal. I hope you understand what a betrayal of life this is. A betrayal of an agreement made by 2 rational adults to make life good for everybody. I want you to appreciate the depth of the lie of having me live year after year, knowing that Stacy would, with Stacy knowing that she would ultimately renege on our deal. It's a very serious thing. I'll be back soon with chapter 12, and we'll go back in time, understand a little bit more of the backstory behind this. I really appreciate you watching these videos, and thanks again.